It looks like James Corden has found himself in an Ellen situation. And if you guys don't know what I mean by that, I mean, he's being exposed for rude behavior and coming off way different than he seems on his late night television show. James is best known for hosting The Late Late Show with James Corden, and the show has been on the air since 2015. So it's been a long while now that people have felt like they've really gotten to know him through watching the show. But as many learned when things were uncovered about Ellen DeGeneres, not everything is as it seems on television. Ellen was called out for things like treatment of her staff. People came out to say things like the work environment was very toxic. And those who worked closely with her, even within the industry, also came out to say that if you weren't beneficial to her, she simply didn't care about you. It was a shame to hear such things about a woman who people had grown to love over the years, seeing her give back to the community and give luxury gifts to her audience. It really seemed like she appreciated everybody that was on her show, a part of her show, but that is not what the story was coming out about her. And now we have James Corden in somewhat of a similar situation where people viewed him a different way than people are saying he actually acts in real life. And man, was it shocking to hear that he was banned from a restaurant in New York City this week for the way that he treated somebody's staff. He was called out directly by Keith McNally, who owns several restaurants in New York City, and he took to his Instagram this week to detail not only one, but 2 different times James had dined at his establishment and been rude to his waitstaff. And not just rude, we're talking about cause a scene rude, and wanted to tell everyone why James was no longer welcome at any of his locations. He posted a photo of James on his Instagram, and he said, "James Corden is a hugely gifted comedian, but a tiny cretin of a man, and the most abusive customer to my Balthazar servers since the restaurant opened 25 years ago. I don't often 86 a customer to today, I 86 Corden. It did not make me laugh. Here are 2 examples of the funny man's treatment of my staff. Manager report number 1. In June, James Corden was here on table 61. Although this is diabolical, it happens very occasionally in all restaurants. After eating his main course, Corden showed the hair to Balthazar manager G, who was very apologetic. Corden was extremely nasty to G and said, 'Get us another round of drinks this second, and also take care of all of our drinks so far. This way, I write any nasty reviews in Yelp or anything like that.'" Manager's report number 2. James Corden was at Balthazar with his wife on October 9th for brunch. He asked for a table outside. Brunch Major D. Ali Walters took the party to table 301. Mr. Corden's wife ordered an egg yolk omelet with Gruyere cheese and salad. A few minutes after they received the food, James called their server, MK, and told her there was a little bit of egg white mixed with the egg yolk. MK informed the floor manager G. The kitchen remade the dish, but unfortunately sent it with home fries instead of salad. That's when James Corden began yelling like crazy to the server. "You can't do your job. You can't do your job. Maybe I should go into the kitchen and cook the omelet myself." MK was very apologetic and brought G over to the table. He returned to the dish, and after that, everything was fine. He gave them promo champagne glasses to smooth things out. G said that Corden was pleasant to him, but nasty to the server. MK was very shaken, but professional that she is, continued to finish her shift. The story went absolutely viral, as most people who know of James just from his show thought he was this funny, fun-loving guy who does carpool karaoke. But that image has changed suddenly. I mean, to be banned from a restaurant, that's really bad and so embarrassing. You just know you have to really act out for that to be the case. Mistakes can happen when you go out to eat, but nothing good is going to come out of causing an entire scene like that. And most of the time, if you're nice about it, they're more than accommodating. I'm sure, like, especially to celebrities, they're even more accommodating if you're nice about it. But of course, if you're rude to multiple people, everyone is going to come out of the woodworks and be like, actually, hey, like, I got a story, like, let me vent. Because things like this are just upsetting, especially if you have this like superiority complex and no regard for other people. That's when you get yourself in trouble. Like, obviously the restaurant made some mistakes, but there's different ways to go about it than to yell at people. Obviously, due to the backlash from the story, it's been said that James reached out to Keith and apologized for his behavior. And Keith posted a follow-up to say James had been unbanned from his restaurants. He said, "James Corden just called me and apologized profusely. having effed up myself more than most people, I strongly believe in second chances. So if James Corden lets me host his Late Late Show for 9 months, I'll immediately rescind his ban from Balthazar. No, of course not. But anyone magnanimous enough to apologize to a deadbeat layabout like me and my staff doesn't deserve to be banned from anywhere, especially Balthazar. So come back to the five and dime, Jimmy Corden, all is forgiven. But the internet isn't as forgiving, and people commented on Keith's post to say that not only should James have apologized to him, but to the wait staff as well for his direct behavior towards them, and wondered if he was actually sorry for his behavior or if he was only sorry he got called out for it. And like most times when a story like this gets out, all the other stories follow. And in this situation, that was definitely the case. People had plenty to say about James, always having had this sort of reputation. But nobody really wanted to fully highlight and report on it, at least not to this degree, or at least not in the States. But there's actually a lot that's been said about James, and there have been people that have been made aware of his behavior. And in the past, he had even acknowledged rubbing people the wrong way. In his autobiography from years ago, he addressed the speech that he gave after accepting his second BAFTA award for his show Gavin and Stacey. Instead of a normal speech, he asked a question to the crowd. He said, "How can what is apparently the best comedy performance and the best television program of the year not even be nominated as a comedy?" He was met with silence, shock, and disbelief. And in his book, he acknowledged coming off as seemingly ungracious, ungrateful, and brattish. So to hear this repeated behavior happening right now seems as though he didn't really take the time to reflect back then. There's also been several other times James' reputation has been in question, like the time that James was hosting the Glamour Women in Hollywood event and actor Patrick Stewart literally called him out on stage for acting like he couldn't have cared less to be there that day. When presenters were giving out awards and people were coming up to accept their awards, he was standing in the background acting like he was bored, he didn't want to be there, and of course was getting called out about it. And his reaction to the criticism caused quite a stir, and this was truly so uncomfortable, and people have gone back to this moment this past week to reference it and his character. There had also been other times where people vented about his behavior on Twitter and online forums, because one time, I don't know why, but he decided to do an Ask Me Anything on Reddit. And instead of receiving a ton of love and a ton of questions, he actually received a lot of criticism from people, and most of these people were asking questions about accusations of him being rude to other people, including his staff. These things were definitely very harsh. People said things like, "Why are you, James, such a deeply unpleasant person? Did your parents raise you this way? Do you feel like you are given enough credit for managing to make it in America with your severe unlikableness and apparent complete lack of comedic ability?" Like, people were not messing around. People were rude. And he ended up leaving the questions to his staff to answer for those who had genuine questions. And I can't blame him for not wanting to sit and read through this thread, but dang, I truly didn't realize he had so many people against him until I sat down to do this video. I will say though that I have actually witnessed James in person. I actually went to a taping of his show with two friends last year, and my friends and I were actually kind of stunned to see how he honestly seemed to hate his job and not care about anybody that was in the room that day for the filming, and thought, okay, like maybe he was just having a bad day. But reading through all this, I'm like, I don't think it was a bad day. I mean, the switch up between like being on camera and then being off camera was very different. And of course, work is work for everyone, and there's good and bad days. But when I heard that his show was ending after this season, I can't say I was surprised. He just didn't seem to like it. And I'll add that I've been to a ton of different tapings for shows over the years, and it's honestly really rare to see someone not acknowledge the audience that came to support them, because these shows need a studio audience to keep them running. It means that people like the show, they want to support it, and they want to see it on the air still. So for these people not to acknowledge the audience, it's definitely not a good look, and definitely leaves people that came to see them with just like not a good feeling. But spring of 2023 will be the end of the late night road for him, and I truly wonder if he'll be making any mentions of this restaurant situation on his show this week. But I guess we'll have to see. But that's what's been going on with James. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments below. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye, guys.